There is a number so large that if you tried to write it out, you would die before you finished. Not because it's dangerous, not because it's classified, but because the number of digits alone would take longer to write than the entire age of the universe. And that number is the size of Minecraft. By the way, quick question before we get into this. Where in the world are you watching this right now? Drop it in the comments. I genuinely want to know. Okay, we are going to get to that number. We are going to stare directly into it and let it destroy us together. But I need to rewind first, because to understand why that number matters, you first have to understand something about the universe itself. Okay, so the observable universe. You've probably heard that phrase thrown around, but let's actually feel it for a second. The observable universe is everything humans have ever seen, mapped, theorized, or pointed a telescope at. Every galaxy, every black hole, every single thing that exists within the reach of human knowledge. It stretches about 93 billion light years across, and a single light year is roughly 9.5 trillion kilometers. I want you to hold that in your head. 93 billion light years. That is the full bubble of human existence. Everything we've ever known or imagined fits inside that number. Now, the Milky Way galaxy, our home, is about 100,000 light years across. So, the observable universe is roughly 930,000 Milky Way galaxies wide. Our solar system, tiny by comparison, stretches out to something called the Oort cloud, a distant shell of icy debris orbiting our sun, sitting about 1.6 light years away at its edge. 1.6 light years. That's our backyard. And the nearest solar system to ours, Alpha Centauri, sits about 4.37 light years away. These are numbers that are already genuinely hard for the human brain to process, and they're about to become completely irrelevant. Now here's where Minecraft enters the picture. When most people think about Minecraft, they think it's a big game. And yeah, early on it kind of feels that way. The default playable region of Minecraft is bordered by something called the Farlands, a legendary glitch that kicks in about 12.5 million blocks from the center of the world. The total playable width of that core region, edge to edge, is around 25 million blocks. Since each block is 1 cubic meter, that makes Minecraft roughly 25,000 kilometers across. That's actually smaller than Earth, which has a circumference of about 40,000 kilometers. So, in its normal state, the standard Minecraft world is literally smaller than the planet you're sitting on right now. Not that impressive. Yet. Here's where things start to get weird. Because Minecraft doesn't stop generating at the Farlands. The game just keeps going. And the further out you travel, the more the game starts to fall apart. At around 30 million blocks out, certain blocks begin to stretch. Natural lighting stops working. Hitboxes for objects like cake and cactus drift away from the actual blocks themselves. The game is starting to crack. At around 1 billion blocks from the center, you hit what people call the Fartherlands. Yes, the Fartherlands. And to give you a sense of scale, a creator named Equa once walked to the regular Farlands by foot, the whole journey, on stream. It took 960 hours of continuous walking in the game, nearly 40 days of non-stop movement just to reach the first boundary. To walk from the center of Minecraft to the Fartherlands at that same pace would take over 8.5 years. No breaks, no sleep, no eating, just holding the forward key for 8.5 years straight. And at 1 billion blocks, the distance between spawn and that point alone is 2.5 times greater than the distance between the Earth and the Moon. But even the Fartherlands are nothing, because at over 53 quadrillion blocks out, things escalate to a point that stops making human sense. 53 quadrillion blocks. Since each block is a meter, that's 5.7 light years. You've now gone further into Minecraft than Alpha Centauri is from Earth. Our closest neighboring solar system is closer to us than this point is to the center of Minecraft. If you launched yourself from Minecraft's world spawn in a Saturn V rocket, the fastest rocket ever built by humans, flying at 37,000 kilometers per hour without stopping, it would take over 1,600 centuries to reach this point. And here's the brutal part. At around 2.1 billion blocks, the game's code completely gives up. Blocks stop loading. All you see is clouds and void. The game has structurally collapsed, and we're not even close to the end. At over 4 quintillion blocks from spawn, we hit what's called the farthest lands, 455 light-years out. For reference, back in 1936, Adolf Hitler delivered the opening speech at the Berlin Olympics. That broadcast was powerful enough to send a radio signal out into space. Moving at the speed of light, that signal has now traveled about 90 light-years from Earth. It's the furthest human communication to have ever reached the cosmos, our first impression on the universe, by the way. And Minecraft is still 5 times larger than the total distance that signal has ever traveled. The farthest lands are genuinely the limit of Minecraft's terrain. At 9.2 quintillion blocks, computers physically cannot process a number any larger in standard code. Most modifications can't push past it. For all practical purposes, this is the wall. This is the end of Minecraft. Except it isn't.
A Minecraft user by the name of Aura Gunner decided to find out what happens if you use the most extreme modifications ever created for the game and simply keep going past every limit. And they did. They pushed Minecraft to its absolute mathematical boundary, the true end of the game, the point beyond which the game registers your position not as a number, but as infinity. That point sits at 1.8 times 10 to the power of 308 blocks from spawn. I need you to just sit with that for a moment. 10 to the power of 308. That means the number 1 followed by 308 zeros. Not 100 zeros, 308. If you were to convert that into meters and then compare it to the observable universe, Minecraft would be larger than the universe by a factor of 32 quinvigintian to centillion. That is not a made-up word. That is a real number in the English naming system for large quantities, and it represents how many times larger Minecraft is than everything humans have ever observed in the cosmos. And here's the part that genuinely should keep you up at night. The observable universe isn't even the whole universe. According to physicist Alan Guth's theory of cosmic inflation, the universe has been expanding faster than the speed of light since the Big Bang, which means there are parts of the universe so far away that their light has never and will never reach us. The actual full size of the universe may be 156 trillion times larger than the observable part alone, and Minecraft is still incomprehensibly bigger. And then, just for sport, imagine you took the entire universe, everything, all of it, and shrunk it down to the Planck length, the smallest unit of measurement that physics allows, 100 quintillion times smaller than a proton, the theoretical minimum size of anything. If the entire universe were that small, Minecraft would still be 346 centillion meters long, a number so enormous it makes the universe look like a rounding error. This is Minecraft, a game where you punch trees and build houses, a game made by one Swedish developer that started as a side project, a game that, mathematically, is bigger than everything. And now you know why that number at the beginning of this video would take longer to write than the universe has been alive. Because it doesn't just represent a big world, it represents the moment where human mathematics simply runs out of road. And Minecraft is still going.